There we go. Turned it down just a little bit. I'm doing good. Hi, Oppie. How are you two doing? I think that's a plane flying overhead. Huh. Have I been thinking about more robots? Hell yeah. Can't go wrong about thinking about robots. You're pretty good? Hell yeah. Glad to hear it. Stream was a little late because there was traffic on the way home. Some sort of accident. It looked nasty, but it doesn't look like anyone got hurt. The cars themselves looked pretty nasty. One of the wheels was like straight up torn and tossed off. But again, didn't see anything that bad. So hopefully those people are alright. Saw Mr. Fucks on the road and they crashed. Speaking of, so in the Discord, I announced that we have the Rodrigo Fucks emote added. I was trying to add it to Twitch, but for some reason my Twitch has been very buggy, kind of, where I'll try to do anything, like even do a highlight, and it'll just get stuck in a constant loading screen. And sometimes I will hit that refresh and it will reset whatever I did, except the thing will actually be loaded so I can actually just rename it and everything else. But then sometimes it resets it and it's all reset, like it never loaded up or anything. So that's what's happening with the emote right now. I wasn't sure if I should just put it... I also wasn't sure if I should put it as Rudico Fucks or just Rudico FX. And whether I should actually have the image that is just the horse or the one that says sex on it. Which is... yeah. I guess we'll see. But yeah, right now it's stuck in loading limbo, so I don't think I'm able to get the fucks emote in there. Hey Sonic, how you doing? If you want to get super motion sick, play Arizona Sunshine with smooth movement? Kind of gross after playing it for an hour. What is Arizona Sunshine? I've never heard of this game. Ah, it's for VR. I think that's why. VR scares you, same. I actually got to try out VR 2 years ago now. It must have been 2 years ago, because yeah, it was 2 years ago, because it was before COVID. Um, I guess maybe like a year and a half or something. But a friend had got a VR thing, and they let me try it out. It was like legit really cool. Kind of scary, but yeah, cool. Smooth movement means it's all analog movement and not teleport. Ah, I have heard that that causes people to like feel queasy after a while. Teleport tends to be a lot like better for the brain, I guess. It was one of the VR games that you're told about early on. Yeah, maybe I just didn't pay enough attention about a bunch of VR games, but there's very few. Like Thumper, I'm looking at the Steam page right now, and one of the related things is Thumper. I remember Thumper. I remember hearing about that. Job Simulator, yeah. Gorn, Super Hot VR. Yeah. Feel super queasy. Yeah. Smooth locomotion is good with you. You despise teleport in most cases. Fair. That's also fair. All over the expensive equipment, Mike. Oh no. You don't want to yuck up your new expensive equipment. Yeah. Anyways. Yeah, that's what's going on with the emote. As soon as I can get it in there, I'll get it in there, but unfortunately, can't right now. You'll just yuck on the next best thing, Hoppy. Oh lord. Water real quick. Okay. You've never been yucked on before? You're always open to new experiences. Oppie, no! Oh no. Okay, I'm gonna pause this. Yes, I know. There we go. Here. All right, it was already there. Easy. it just as mess with you, Snoik. Oh lord. So yeah, I've also been kind of practicing the other voices that I've wanted to. I don't know if I'll do them well. I guess we'll see. Your tongue's still feeling queasy. You should lie down, probably. I mean, not that this game has anything that would cause motion sickness, but still probably a good idea to lie down. Okay. Doesn't help that you started the game after eating. Yeah. Yeah. Probably not great. Bulk of ores, rights conducted for, yes. Ah, okay. So, last time we left, we had just beaten, the witch Udamildi, and we're in a bog. That's sapping away our hope, because the bog is stinky. And on fire, look at that. Gamers need to eat after gaming, like a little reward for their rat brains. Yeah, that's true. I think with the Beyonder Crystal, because we'll get challenges and stuff every now and then, I think I'm going to do those off stream, because this game is actually pretty long compared to the other ones, and it also low-key cuts down on my talking time, so that's good. Now we can enjoy some Rudy VA ASMR and Flaming Soccer, true. I'll be the Woody VA ASMR. ASMR? Greetings, reader. It is good that you are here, for there is something that I wish to tell you privately. Do you have a moment? I shall not keep you long, though I know your time is precious. Yeah, I hear him out. Excuse me, hold on. Hold on. I need to move the mic a bit. Okay, that should be better. You bid him to continue, and make clear your interest in whatever he has to say. Very well, and thank you for your time. And I should further note, matters that pertain directly to the rights, I must reveal to you alone, for thus I am obliged. In any case, when you confronted the withdrawn and witch Udamildi, you might recall she tended to invoke a certain name. Mr. Ass. It all leads back to Assmac. Oh my god. True. The withdrawn triumvirate of the bog. This witch that we fought has an unhealthy obsession with Yislak, the Astralborn. Yislak, the Astralborn. I hesitate to say it even now. Monstrosity described in myths and ballads, thought slain by the 8 scribes. Even in death, the Astralborn yet feeds upon our world, unsated by its own. The scribe Luce Galerian. You would be forgiven if you took the ravings of Udamildi for mere nonsense. However, our words, as it turns out, ring with a certain truth. You want an Assmac so bad? I don't know how to help you there. Good luck with that. Before the union of the 8 scribes, when first they found themselves here on the downside, land was even less hospitable, if that can be believed. 8 scribes, revered as gods to some, believing they bound themselves to exile so others could be free. A vast purgatory, that's where we are. A vast purgatory into which Commonwealth casts convicts and enemies. It was ruled over by the greater titans. The one called Yislak was the eldest and most fearsome of the lot. Colossal monsters that once roamed the downside. For the scribes together slew them one by one, and through this forged their bonds. Yes. You had some of Popeye's Mac, and it was Ass Mac. It wasn't Ass Mac, it was Mac Ass of. You're going to blame the Mac Ass on the queasiness of how not great it was? Yeah, do that. Just the same, the scribes managed to defeat it. They later used Islak's own hide and ichor to bind the rights of the Book of Rights. However, Islak did not truly die, for by some accounts, it seems to be incapable of death. The creature is regenerating even now, though very, very slowly. Its vow is to devour this land and everything in it. Only then can it return onto whatever plane that banished it to ours. So in a way, it is an exile, just like you. If ever the creature should be reborn, it shall be many, many ages hence. Thus the ravings of Udmildi are more or less inconsequential for the while. Yet, the history of Islak is inexorably linked to the rites, and therefore must be known. I trust your research of the book shall lead you to discover more in time. So sorry that happened. Noik. I hope all of this is of some reassurance, excuse me. And now I leave you to your more immediate concerns. So go check to see how everyone is faring at this time. He heads out into the evening, bidding you a good rest of the evening. Oh, nope. Did not. Hey, you want to talk? Uh-huh. The hideous place. Their common misery. Okay, let's go. Alright, let's get out of here. Mackass is gonna send you over the edge. True pain. Okay, let's continue forward. I'm excited. Not for Big Bertrude, but Big Bertrude is good. But I'm excited to be able to voice one of my favorite characters. When the Asmac betrays you, true pain, true. Cast it to the downside. Cast it to the downside of the Commonwealth. Free yourself and throw that Asmac into shame. Or Mac-ass, excuse me. Big Bertrudes. We're supposed to stop here. First. Big Bertrude sounds like a hoot. Big Bertrude's pretty good. This is the place. Let us go see my client's companion. As soon as you are ready. Nobody to talk to. Okay. Big Bertrudes is a sickly gathering of bog dwellers who stay within shadows Yet, you can feel their eyes surveying everything. The lone minstrel steps forward. Yeah. Excuse me. Look at this. Outposts, all sorts of contraband used to come through here. Some of it fatal if touched or inhaled. Sandalwood sent us. Those words are enough to make the bog dwellers snap to attention. They emerge from the mud and dark and begin inspecting your black wagon with their strange tools. One of the bog dwellers slithers forth. She is larger than the rest and leaves no doubt that she commands the others.
Thou speakest the name Sandalwood. We would know his whereabouts. Reveal them to us.
Good day to you, Big Bertrude. It is a pleasure to meet you at last. For Sandalwood always spoke highly of you and your handiwork. She is the bog dweller once feared and respected in the Commonwealth for her sorceress work.
He did he? In turn, we know who thou must be.
Big Bertrude can step on you. She has no feet. She can only slither onto you, I guess. She can tread on you.
Yes, thou speakest of the past. Sandalwood doth he yet live? Speak plainly and quickly.
That's why Rudy. I never said I didn't like Big Bertrude. I think she's cool.
To be quite frank with you, madam, I do not know for certain, for I have been apart from him for some time, carrying out his will. Though I have every faith that Sandalwood, lives. As for his current whereabouts, I understand that he awaits us somewhere near Wakingwood, beyond the waters.
Wakingwood. A labyrinth of a forest on the western half of Black Basin. Few know their way around it. The path of the sacred Mount Elodio lies far beyond these suffocating woods. Need you a freak like Big Birch? Okay.
We wish to seek him there, though, as you can see, our wagon is ill suited for the task.
The one called Bertrude frowns at this, studying the lone minstrel all the while.
Indeed. And leave us, return at dawn. That is all.
By your grace, Big Bertrude. The lone minstrel turns away, but Edwin stops him. Hold on. Are you sure about this? Leaving the wagon in their care?
All should be in accordance with my client's plan.
You keep calling Sandalwood your client. He must reward you well.
Aye, in a manner of speaking. He helped me find a sense of purpose I thought I lost.
Edwin nods at this, then turns to you. Oh, my friend. I guess we'll see what happens, right? I'll have to let the others know. Why get a freak like Big Bertrude when you got Big Bertrude? Turning into that whole I wish I had a BFGF like you. That isn't you. Oh, that's... I know exactly what you're talking about. That's so mean. I wish I had a BF/GF like this person. That's me. Yeah, but not you. Oh. Oh, okay. You could never nab Big Bertrude with that attitude. He's right. Not with that attitude. You find yourself with time for your vocations, while the bog dwellers go about their business. Cool. I think we foraged last time. Studying in private isn't bad. Let's do mentorship.
As each exile's path towards enlightenment is personal, you'll have to mentor them one at a time. Rudy knows of the suffering. Let's go with I don't know. I don't know who would be best. Go with Hedwin. Sure thing, friend. I appreciate the offer. Where to begin? You illustrate to Hedwin some of the intricacies of the rites, focusing on how all three in the triumvirate can move and act as of one mind. You sense he grasps some of the concepts. I used to think the scribes were just stuff of stories. But all of this really is their doing, isn't it? Okay. Yeah. The coming back to vanishing where, or like touching where they fell. That's good. Okay, let's continue. It's like that. I'm literally the guy on the pic tweet. Yeah, exactly. A girl you had a thing for in high school did that to you? And family zoned you? Oh no! You brought it up on yourself. You're too shy to be upfront. Fair. The lone minstrel finds you early the next day. Reader. And is ready. Please come have a look. The others are already there. Okay, let's go. Oh, look how clean it is. The black wagon appears different now than it did even a day before. The hull is fully sealed and reinforced, and all manner of nautical equipment adorns the port side. Wow. You people seeing this? I'm gonna have a look around. The wagon should be fit for sea voyage. Let us depart at your earliest convenience. And what about Big Bertrude? She then appears as if on cue. Tell Sandalwood he owes us twice over. If I may, Big Bertrude, you could tell him yourself if you wish to accompany us in our voyage north. A group would welcome someone of your vast experience. Dare thee make flirtations upon us? No, Enough. Should ye see that Sandalwood, tell him also to come and visit us again. Now, be gone from here and tell no one that we were paid in favors. You've had one crush in your life. They're your best friend of 12 years. Aww. Aww. She slithers off without another word. Soon the lone minstrel breaks the silence. We are fortunate that she assisted us. We should go. Just as she said. Excuse me. Just as she said. I know the navigational controls and shall explain. This is so exciting! I don't know how to swim! Bears seems to share Gay's enthusiasm for heading out to sea. I'm beginning to feel ill already. The Sea of Solace awaits. Let's go.
12 years is a long time. It is. I kind of feel like I know that feeling, Oppie. Hell yeah, we turn into boat. The Worm Gulf. You and your companions watch the sea as your wagon rolls over the gentle waves. You have crossed into the Worm Gulf. Hope that all of you are acclimating well. The tempestuous sea of Solace lies beyond this death-still body of water. Exiled worms from the sea dominion naturally congregate around here. There's no acclimating to these worm-infested waters. You shall risk everything to sell here. I'm not even sure if this is the voice I was using for Jodariel earlier. Excuse me. Alright though, you didn't realize you liked them till this year and got over it because they're dating someone? Aw. I feel that. Such a good command, isn't it? You never knew that was a hug command? Yeah, I brought it up like, I don't know, maybe Saturday? Or like the stream before. I had completely forgotten about it too. And I had jokingly put the hug command, like typed it in. And I was like, oh, I already made one of these. Okay. Almost as good as roulette. Oppie will forever live. Exiled worms of the sea dominion tend to seek out the cold of downside seas. Known for being reckless and single-minded, they were perfectly suited to fill the Commonwealth's front lines. Because, as we established, the Commonwealth is, that's how it be. Commonwealth is a good place to live, but also they're at war with the Harpies. As long as we follow the cold current, Big Birchu indicated, we shall be safe. If the next ride is in the middle of the sea, how will our adversaries meet us there? They shall find their way, as we found ours. It is all parts of the scribe's design. You didn't even finish reading them. Oh no. Now, reader, please confirm the next point on our sea journey. You seek the hulk of oars. Carcass of a doomed exploring vessel, Dazrabon, the lost in the waters of the downside. Okay. Navigate the maze of maws. I love this. Said you offer your sympathy/empathy, but you can't relate to your situation, so I don't remember if it is sympathy or empathy to offer to your situation, so I offer both and hope it works out. Good. Good long message. The wagon continues rolling gently across the waves, which seem to you a welcome change of pace. For having come from flagging hands not very long ago. You're a word expert? Hell yeah. However, Jodariel seems more concerned now than before, and paces ceaselessly. When she notices Ruki, she stops him for some questioning. Greentail, how's he doing? Oh, Hedwin? Oh, he's pretty much the same. Been up all night retching into the waters, if I had to guess. His first time out to sea? His first. He turns to you. Reader,
Please check on Hedwin when you have the opportunity. He requires our support, and we require his swift recovery. You wish them a good afternoon as you go check up on the others in the group. Later you found Hedwin looking out of sorts. Oh, hello friend. It's just... sea hasn't been good for me, I guess. Excellent word, spaghetti chef. Like a rapper, but worse. Vomit on his sweater, mom's spaghetti. Spaghetti? Mom's spaghetti. Mom's spaghetti. 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 It's funny. All this trouble. Just to get back to the Commonwealth of all places. Hey, tell me something. What do you miss the most about that place? Edwin wants to know what you miss about your life, your past life. Book collection, the few friends you had, perhaps the food. Sure, it was highly illegal, though just the same, just having had access to those volumes. Your life was almost always difficult, but several of your long-time confidants did help you get by. Your mouth waters us at the thought of it. Let's compare to what passes as sustenance down here. You've made conscious efforts to discard most of your memories of living in the Commonwealth. MMO spaghetti. Well, there's angel hair pasta with red tomato sauce. Go with... These are all good answers. Let's go with friends. Tell them that there were those who did support you over the years, and it pains you now to be apart from them. Yeah, I hear you, my friend. As someone I miss terribly back there myself. Sure. And when you make it out of here, your loved ones will be waiting. Anyway, I'll be fine. I think. Thank you for checking up on me. You sense he wishes to be alone. Not much to be done for him now. It appears Hedwin is too ill to conduct the next raid. May he soon get well. I'm sorry for interrupting, reader. Please, again, confirm the next point of our voyage. Yep. Okay, let's go. Look how beautiful this is. This game is, like, just gorgeous in all rights. By the scribes! The sea! I didn't know it was so beautiful! Having escaped the waters of Worm Gulf, you can now see what must be the hulk of oars, far on the horizon. Not everyone has taken well to the sea voyage, however. Tizo is wondering if Hedwin is feeling better. He requires further rest, Tizo. All we can do is wish him a swift recovery. Reader, sir, from this point, our voyage must diverge from Bertrude's instructions. Please, consult with your companions about which course to take. Not as beautiful as you guys. Aw. Okay, I'm giving you guys another choice. Under King Pass or Fathomless Trench. Tizo wants to fish for something tasty here in the Fathomless Trench. Or the Under King Pass, where Gay believes that the 8 scribes shall bless you here. Essentially get an item, possibly, or a buff. The north current towards the Hulk of Oars runs as quick as Under King Oars himself. south current towards the Hulk of Ores teems with fish and other sea life. You're the most adorbs. Don't you forget it. Fathomless Trench. Okay, we'll go with Fathomless Trench. The sea is peaceful for the most part, save for occasional strange shimmers beneath the surface. You realize the lone minstrel is looking down at them along with you. Those shapes down there. Some must be worms of the Sea Dominion cast into exile. The Sea Dominion is a vast and war-torn undersea regime, home to untold number of amphibious worms. Having conquered their waters, the worms clambered onto the Commonwealth shores in search of new wars. I may understand they tirelessly fought the Commonwealth wars, having grown wary of their own. They must make worthy adversaries. Tizo appears to have spotted something tasty. Dives without warning into the depths below. And there he goes again. That one enjoys being at sea, despite its perils. Eventually, the little imp resurfaces, clutching something in his claws. Caught a spotted slurg. It can be sold at the market for 90. Hell yeah. Limbless cold-blooded creature caught at sea. Two guns is better than one. Only one bullet is needed to kill you, but two guarantees the first did its job. Double tap. Rule number 1 of the apocalypse. Double tap. True. Apoco. At last you arrive at the Hulk of Ores. After journeying across the sea, it seems the next ride is to commence here soon. Though there is no sign of your next adversaries yet. We can always look at... I think that's what I'm going to do as well, is with the pages, I'm going to look at them at the end of the stream. That way, kind of get a good bit of info all in one go. But first, the slug market, because I've kind of been working on Falcon Ron's voice. You were A the reference, but you could A the apocalypse too. Fair. Wouldn't it be apocalypse? Apocalypse? Hey, you guys. Funny running into you out there. Right in the middle of the drink, know what I mean? Not a lot of customers today. Now have a look. I'll give you a good deal. This is Falcon Ron's new voice. Please clap. Hey Jeff, how you doing? Always get one of these. Gonna give you this fish, Ronnie. Word on the street is you're pretty poggers. Yep. Jeff is pretty poggers. Or not. When aura casting, raise the bearer's maximum range by 8%, which would be really good for certain people. I'm not sure what I should get though. Thorn Knot is cheap. Not bad.
I'm actually gonna save the money though.
Guys.
Thanks, guys. You liking that thing you're going to tonight?
Speed and make the big lady go zoom, but she only does like dashes and she gets 2 of them. I don't know if speed would be the best thing for her. Silver Bulgehead, a limbless, cold-blooded creature rescued from the sea.
Reader, a moment of your time.
You ask what's on her mind.
Edwin. He's beginning to recover from his illness, however. Sudden onset serves as a reminder, I believe. I've known Edwin since he was a child. Even now I hesitate to say that he has grown. Nevertheless, there are such things that even I would never say to him directly. For instance, I struggle with his confidence, at times. Whether he leads us to our freedom or our doom, I am ambivalent. Speak not a word of this to him, of course. In case that is unclear, I shall tell him in my own way, if and when the time requires. In any case, when times remind me of his mortal weaknesses, I end up having to consider what should happen. What should happen should we become separated permanently. Trails off a while. What I mean to say is, you should know that I am fully pledged now to this quest of ours, whether Hedwyn is the one to lead us to its end or not. I have my reasons. One of them is him. I expect the same holds true for you. That is all I wish to say. Take care, reader. She nods and brushes past you towards the door. Look at these fish. Look at this fish. Nautical bell. Oops. Sorry, Rookie. Oh, you just keep right on ringing that bell, chum. Keep at it. Rookie seems to be taking issue with your frivolous use of the nautical bell. After all, there is no sign of a nautical emergency, nor prepared meal. I know it's not mealtime, it's... Hold on. What voice was I using? Oh, I know it's not mealtime, it's fine. I'm starting to really enjoy this constant ringing sound, though. Not that it doesn't mean anything to me or anyone anymore. Besides, ringing that bell, probably some pretty good exercise, right? It's good training for my ears, too. You know we curs have ultra-sensitive hearing, don't you? Not anymore, I don't. Anyways, thanks. I mean that. Storms off. Ruki shall never forgive you for abusing the nautical bell. So be it. Ruki reappears, laughing heartily. He was only joking. Probably. Hey, Feeny. Okay, before we go in, you don't know about me, but it seems like Ruki does not like hearing in the bell. Yeah, probably. So we won't be able to use Hedwyn. Get this out of there. Just in case I use Tizo or not. How you doing, Feeny? Let's too quick. Takes
Oh, no, no, no. Okay, good. No, no, no. Back in there. Okay, so it takes 2 to increase the quickness. I don't think that's a good idea. Pierogi. Team Goob just had corn tortilla soup? Hell yeah, that sounds good. Don't need more money like that. I mean, more money isn't bad, but you know, yeah, let's do that. Use some of these. Nah. Nah. Okay, we'll figure out who to use later. Beanie, you're just in time. I get to commence the rite, and you get to listen to a funny voice. You didn't have a soup emoji unless you accept. Are those Jesse Cox tentacles? I can't look at the Twitch thing right now. Are you gonna take a muscle relaxer? Yeah, you do that. Having landed at the Hulk of Ores, you and your fellow exiles now anticipate the hour that the rites are to commence again. What do you think, Tizo? Don't I look just like Mr. Hedwin? Ooh. Worried that Hedwin is still feeling unwell. He'll be fine. Wait, I think... What's that? Oh boy. A serpentine creature emerges from the water, followed by several others of its kind. You recognize it as a worm of the sea dominion. Can you take a muscle relaxer to relax your brain? Maybe? I don't know. What they are all doing here, you see plain by their ritual raiments. Excuse me. The nearest one somehow loosens its mask. Can't give up any muscle relaxer they were prescribed to you, and handing them out is illegal. Is it actually illegal? I think that's death. Oh no. Good sirs and good ladies! So it is you that heed the summon of the glorious competition against this knight and his brigade? Well then, let us do battle now without delay! More than our freedom is at stake here, but our very honor! And this knight fully intends to reclaim his... Oh, and lest this knight forget, he is called Sir Gilman! He salutes you all on behalf of the Pyre Hearts until the contest. He is a once proud knight of the Sea Dominion, on a self-made quest to regain his honor. It'd be considered like peddling drugs or something. Akumi. That isn't over the counter, it's legal. Ah. Is it a Flintstones gummy vitamin? Pyre Hearts, a triumvirate of worm knights who perceive the rites as great battles to be won. He splashes out of view just as the stars above begin to shimmer with strange light. I love Gilman. I love him so much. Hard or soft? Flintstone gummies? The hard ones sucked, to be honest, for me.
Even the vastness of the sea was not enough to thwart your coming here unto the Hulk of Ores. You would be wise not to underestimate your adversaries here, despite their pitiable look. I am, of course, referring to the Pyre Hearts. These rites are but another war to them, and that makes you their mortal enemy. I expect your battle to be glorious.
And now we get into like some of the extra things in that your pyre can be up or down. Doesn't have to be all in the center. There's more hazards and everything. Your fellow exiles are gathered up on the rotting deck of the Hulk of Oars. As your adversaries clamber into view, Ruki paws up to them. You were just excited for Flintstone when you were younger. Slam dunk that home. Run, homie. Say, what are you worms have been doing here? Can't you just swim back to the Commonwealth? Or the Sea Dominion? Or wherever it is you're from? Ha ha! An excellent point! It seems that these adversaries of the rights are clever, wouldn't you say, sire? Just get rid of them already, Gilman. As your commanding officer, this knight hereby commands it. Hark! This knight wishes to introduce his noble commander. No worm knight in history has withstood as many frontline battles. Doff your helmet, sire, as is our custom. May our adversaries tremble at the sight of you. Sir Gilman attends to his commander's mask, despite his protests. Wait! Give this knight his mask. This knight hereby presents to you the great Sir Deluge, a noble visage, is it not? He's a petty worm knight. He's a petty worm knight of the Sea Dominion, who somehow survived countless battles. Sir Deluge trembles and squirms. So, yes, you can swim or no? Ha! Of course we knights can swim. All knights of the Sea Dominion can. But we're exiled in this land the same as ye. We can swim, 'tis true, but 'tis summarily impossible to swim back up the river down which we were flushed to end up here. But nay, there is but one way to return. Silence, Sir Gilman. Nobody cares. Back to your post. Sir Gilman hesitates, but does as he is told. This knight knows who you are, Nightwings, and he's not afraid of you. He somehow climbs back into his mask and calls up to his full height. Now, en garde! The exiles of the Worm Triumvirate take their positions as you focus on the Book of Rights. You can't escape death either, Sonic. I have one thing to say. You are not the guy. You're not capable of being the guy. I had a guy, but now I don't. You're not... What? What is that referencing? Reader, Edwin's illness means he cannot help us here. He shall be counting on us.
Now let us get started.
Okay. I think, yeah. No Jodariel, because she's already like super high on EXP, which is fine. I think if that's the case, we only have 3 choices. Well, no, yes, we do. Ooh, speed or... Yeah, let's go with speed. No, not speed. Let's go with... What does she have? Right. The only movie you know of that has the guy is Spy Kids 3D. I wish I could click that, but I'm not going to right now. Okay. So we're gonna go with Gay,
Gay.
and then Tizo,
Tizo.
then Ruki.
Ruki. The choice is cast.
No way, these Worm Knight bozos are faster than me. Gilman, it's the status report. What is the enemy's position? They now stand ready to confront us, sire. A brave triumvirate they seem to this knight's eye. Brave? Hair-sucking monsters, what it all? Pirates, be ready.
Now begin. Stand not in glory's path.
Oh yeah, I forgot that this does that.
Gilman caught out.
I'm just trying to practice.
Thoroughly banished.
Shit, I fucked up.
Engulfed within the aura. Didn't see it coming.
God, I'm just trying to get the timing on this. I'm so sorry.
Alas for Gay.
Ooh.
A flame is stricken.
Opening a window reminded you how much a marshmallow baby you are? What? Why?
That chaos. Poor little bug-eyed worm. A stifled effort.
Just farm this, the money. This is fine too.
No. Be gone, you lot. Why, that was all of them.
I'm trying.
Seize the orb. Banished, all of them.
No!
Oh, a bit of a blunder. Tizo's aim was
okay.
true.
Sorry, I was not really paying attention. I'm still trying to get used to some of this. Again. It's like half a second. Okay. Let me just Get back over here.
Quite the turn of events.
Good shit on
Bask
them.
in the purified flame.
Do you only have a VHS? Who are you talking to?
'Twas dangerously close. Ah. Their flame has died a little.
Gilman, your form is sloppy. Fight them, as though your miserable life is on the line. Your words do wound me, sire. This knight gives every right his very, very best. Though, perhaps we do have much to learn from such a brave triumvirate as the one whom we face now. Whose side are you on? Get out there and vanquish them at once.
They seem to be arguing? Oh, I think this is our chance.
There seems to be dissension in your adversary's ranks. 'Tis little wonder these fool worm knights are no longer fit to serve the Commonwealth. The flames of freedom.
I can't look at chat right now, I'm
Like
sorry.
that, and we are finished here. Well cast.
Oh my god,
Absolute
that jump was amazing.
The orb is up. And it
There we
is
go.
done. The Night Wings prevail. Their adversaries prove no match for them. The ceremony is complete.
Complete. The sea was making me a little queasy, honestly. But we still won. We won! More screeching. He was very pleased to have prevailed against the Worm Knights. Huh. These Worm Knights were quick, alright, but Rookie Queentail's quicker. Oh god. That is not the voice I was using for him. Though, these, These worms are quick, alright, but Rookie Greentail's quicker. That's not. Fuck. I forgot the voice I was using for Rookie. It was so clear in my mind not too long ago. I've not been looking at chat. Imagine looking at chat couldn't be you. You're in chat. Sir Fuck's Lord is great. Pyre soccer player. Okay, Queentail Uwu. See that Breaking Bad is on Netflix and you canceled that sub a while ago? Oof. Yes, you won't watch it. Yeah. Honestly, I still haven't seen Breaking Bad. So, I don't know. I feel like it's gonna end up in that category of I'm not gonna watch this. Eventually. Like, it's never gonna happen. It's on the long list of things to watch, which I know in my heart of hearts means I'm not gonna watch this. Okay. Gilman again. This knight commends you, noble Nightwings. Gloriously fought indeed. And this knight shall wistfully remember this defeat until the end of his days. Silence, Gilman. This is all your fault. And now converting with our enemies? How dare you? This knight was but a tempting honorary compliment, sire. Is it not in accordance with the rights to praise one's adversaries on a worthy outcome? Worthy?
This night will show you worthy, you miserable little minnow. You are a failure, Gilman. Now, get now from this night's sight.
What stirs now in the hearts of all these exiles? The moon-touched girl has greater understanding than it seems.
The 8 scribes, they inspire me so, and now I feel like I have grown somehow closer to them? Maybe? You refuse to watch it. It's on the 3rd season of Castle Rock on Hulu. Can't do Castle Rock Sonic, but what about an apartment Pebble? What? Should know what that is. I don't know what that is either. You watch DuckTales and stay in your corner. That's fair, honestly. DuckTales seems super entertaining. When saluting her adversary's gate automatically leaps forward towards the orb, flings it further than usual. Let's go with this. So close.
Until the next right.
Castle Rock took place in the Stephen King universe in Castle Rock, where the Shawshank Redemption took place. Has Bill Skarsgård in it, and he's hot, so it just makes the show better. Shawshank Redemption has Stephen King. He had me at hot. You read that as Castle Rock takes place in Steven Universe and literally said out loud, shut the fuck up. No way. After vanquishing the Pyre Hearts rather decisively, you at last return to the wagon with your companions. There's little discussion of the Pyre Hearts, who seem to have already swam off towards wherever the next stars directed them. Instead, your fellow exile's attention turns toward your companion, who was absent for the rite. How's Hedwin? Lone Minstrel makes a sound, but no words form as yet. Something is troubling him. I urged him to remain bedridden. And? And he simply would not listen. I'm very sorry, but... Wait, what? Everyone stares at the Lone Minstrel in stunned silence. The Lone Minstrel breathes a heavy sigh. But then... Hey, what's with the long faces, everyone? Minstrel, I should wring that neck of yours. As I was attempting to explain, Edwin is already up and about. Despite my having strongly recommended further rest. Those that are unaccustomed to sea voyage and take ill are very likely to experience further symptoms if they do not remain bedridden, or at least sedentary. Edwin is running a considerable risk of having to spend another night in great discomfort. What are you, a doctor? Nay, although I once traveled with one extensively. Look, I appreciate your concern and caution and concern, Tariq, but pretty well accustomed to the discomfort here, and I'd like to see how things turned out tonight. 10 episodes each season, and each one of your fave shows, so getting other people hooked on it sounds great. Nice. Watch party? Yeah, sure. I haven't had to stay out of a rite like that before. This song though, yeah. Hey Shark, how you doing? So you are back among the living then, Hedwin? I was just seasick. Nevertheless, your full recovery requires rest. I think we could all use some rest after tonight. Anyway, thank you, everyone, for your concern.
Sorry that I worried you or caused you further burden. Yeah, how you doing, Shark? He turns to you. That guy's fucking jawbone. Holy shit, yeah. My friend. Downside ballad, do you think? Yeah. What do you say? What do you say we figure out where to go next? Beginning to miss being on solid ground. You follow him outside where the night sky waits. You doing well? Hell yeah. You'd like to know song names? Fair. I do too sometimes. I have not memorized the song names here. I can so little extra tidbit to just talk about, I guess. But when I was younger and even now still, me and my younger brother, like, we'd listen to music, usually like game music, and every now and then something would come on, like we'd listen to some song and kind of quiz the other person, hey, what is this song from? And so we kind of got good at recognizing certain songs or like bits of music and what games it would come from. So while I wouldn't necessarily know song names, I'd be like, yo, this sounds like it came from Final Fantasy, or this came from Kingdom Hearts or something. You had to look up the list. Fair. There's a lot of music in this game, I think. Like maybe 30 to 40 tracks, which is good. Based on how this sounds, you believe the song is Surviving Exile? Well, you two are gonna have to duke it out for correct song title, so. Hey, I wanted to thank you for conducting the rites back there without me being there. I could rest easy knowing you and the others would get through it. Anyway, I'll leave you to your reading. Can't begin to imagine where we'll be off to next. We're well past anywhere in the downside I've ever been. Even Jody hasn't gone this far. You pulled up the OST on Spotify and just clicked through some of the tracks. Fair. Bids you a good evening as you turn your attention back to the sky. Let's go. Triesta, the Silver Star. Still further north then. Not simply north. This shall prove difficult. What's the problem? The destination is beyond the deathless tempest. A vessel such as ours has little hope of traversing it intact. That is the one. Also, relaxer is starting to kick in. Your sore muscles feel a bit less sore. Hell yeah. Deathless tempest. A tempest raging in the Sea of Solace, seemingly for all eternity. A storm that arose after the death of the sea titan, Unfathomed Plurns, never has entirely subsided. Can't we go around it? Given our confrontation with the Pyre Hearts, our chances back in warm-held waters would be even worse. Come now, people. It'll just be another day in the downside. Go get yourself some sleep while we still can. Bet you'll feel better in the morning. Your optimism is infectious. Isn't it? You all concur that the rest is in order. For the sea journey has been taxing to everyone. Come daybreak, you shall find a way to sail past the deathless tempest. The raging pain in your shoulder is much less than before. Hell yeah. Diesel. How you doing, bud? You know what the best part? Well, I still have to read. But I was gonna say the best part of talking to Tiso is I don't have to really speak and do voices. Grateful for having had the opportunity to catch a fish for old time's sake. Hell yeah, dude. Asking if you want to know why he loves fishing. Why?
Inquiry is rhetorical in nature, so you anticipate his response. He loves catching fish because he hates them and everything they stand for. He has devoted his life to the eradication of their kind ever since they killed his family. Oh no! Your favorite is the Black Wagon, which is an upbeat remix of a certain plan. Plays later when your wagon gets upgraded to hell yeah. I think I know which one you're talking about. He seems on the verge of tears, though as far as you are aware, imps cannot cry. Fish killed my grandma, pretty much. Then he leers at you, eyes wide open, expecting a response. It seems he told you a joke. Laugh heartedly. Yes, let's laugh heartedly. I hope this is right. And he was telling a joke. I don't remember. You mustered your best belly laugh following Tiza's joke. Stares at you sidelong for a moment. Admits the real reason he loves catching fish is because Falcon Ron pays a lot of soul for them. Nice. Snickers back at you and bounces off. Aw. +1 hope. Yeah, we can look at the book later. Kill the fish's grandma in return. Falcon Ron is such a fun dude. Yeah, I love him. I love literally every character in this game, but you know. Okay, another choice for you guys. We got Frotzy, which Tizo seems to be excited about this way, or Haruki spotted the wreckage in Ragged Rock. Valuables or something we have no idea. Frotzy or Ragged Rock. Your grandma sleeping with the fishes, literally. You miss Big Bird Shoot? Fair. Ruki's wreckage, Rapid Rock, Ragged Rock? Okay. We'll go with that. Bertrude is a G. She is absolutely a G. The remnants of a shattered fleet do little to raise the confidence of your companions, given that the massive deathless tempest rages to the north, not far from your position. We ought to be more concerned with that storm than finding trinkets, Greentail. Oh, relax, Jody. Let me do my job. I don't show up when you're out there keeping watch and start telling you to come off it, now do I? You interrupt me in the middle of my work? No fewer than 4 times per day. They go on like this for some time before turning to you. Investigating the wreckage is going to take time, but you may find something to show for it. Yeah, why not? The swamp people have the very best kit in the game. Tizo is close second. Like the like Big Bertrude stuff. Yeah, it's pretty good. Tizo's is very fantastic. Honestly, I do think everybody has something that's good. But I especially love Tizo's like huge explosion and aura. Like, it's so good. It is without a doubt fantastic. Knew you'd see it my way, chum. Now let's see what we can get. After an exhaustive search. Sorry, chum. I think I was just chasing the reflection of the sun or something. There's nothing down here. Dodariel fumes at all of this, but says nothing. Like that Rudicorn guy, you hear he is the best party member in this game. She loses -1 hope. Or she loses 1 hope. Excuse me. Shit. You and your companions look upon the deathless tempest. The stars demand you sail beyond it. yet the very thought of it is beyond reason. Then, something in the nearby water stirs. From it springs something familiar. Hold, good ladies and good sirs! This knight beseeches you to hear him, if you please! What is it now, Worm? The rites are ended. We have no further need for you. Oh, but you do! And in turn, this knight has further need of you, good lady! Out with it then. Let us be joined! Let this knight join you, please! Can you believe this, Edwin? Not really, no. Nay, look ye not so surprised. Our valor and the rights did serve this poor knight's soul. He swears to you upon his long-lost honor as a would-be knight errant of the sea dominion that he shall serve you to the end. What about your other worm friends back there, the Pyre Hearts? They are base cowards! This knight can no longer abide such spineless characters, having witnessed true glory in a clash upon the hulk of oars. Never before have we been so trounced so thoroughly. And furthermore, this knight shall aid your passage through the deathless tempest. Is it not so that you seek passage to the north? With this knight's aid, you shall achieve your wish. Sir Gilman continues to persuade you for quite some time. He seems to know his way across the storm, some sort of long-held secret among worms exiled to these waters. Gilman is by far the most fun to voice, absolutely. I love him. Is his tail supposed to look like a sword? Yeah, kinda. They're knightly, so the Sea Dominion is a war-torn area, by, like, where these worms live, and they seek war and glory and everything. So, yeah, it's full-on knight motif. His tail absolutely kind of looks like a sword. Kind of the point, I guess. Jodario pulls the rest of you aside after Hedwyn gives her a look. Are you sure? Are you most sure that Sandalwood will want this thing along? Mostly sure. Sandalwood wants someone for each mask. This one seems about as good as we're going to get. Jodario glowers back at the worm. He tries his best to look presentable. Edwin is more gracious. He tells Sir Gilman that if he promises to help you cross the deathless tempest, then he can come along, for now. This knight is overjoyed! And he hereby swears to see you pass the storm! Though first, this knight requires your consent. Give unto this knight your blessings in the name of the Nightwings, and thus shall he go forth. Seems to be asking your permission for something. Beg pardon. As you begin to say something in response, Sir Gilman cries out in triumph. He vanishes into the depths, yet through this close encounter with him, you cling to some sense of where he is going and what he intends to do. He's determined to help you cross the deathless tempest. I love Sir Gilman so much. Help see his mission through. Let's go. Determined to prove himself to you and the Nightwings, Sir Gilman emerges somewhere in the outer reaches of the Sea of Solace and calls out to you. Master Reader, if you can hear this knight, then he implores you now, lend him your guidance. This knight's objective ought be not far east of here. Today, we shall bring peace to the embroiled sea. Know, however, that among this knight's brethren, the actions we are about to take are highly forbidden. But they are highly just. Thus Sir Gilman sets forth to quell the storm that rages to the north. So this also teaches you their mechanic of the worms, which is you leave a trail and then you hit B, it explodes, and it's great. It's honestly really cool.
Hark! Yonder lie the false spawn of unfathomed plans, boiling the sea with their wrath. Wrath. I said wraith, excuse me. With their wrath!
Unfathomed Plurns. The Sea Titan, once slain by the scribes under King Ors, her blood lies dormant in the sea. Tales of her monstrosity long spread across the world, the book writes.
The exiled worms within these waters long have harbored these abominations, using them to bar passage through the downside's channel, save for any save this knight's own kind. Begone now from here, fiends! This night shall finish what the Under King Ors started!
7th of the 8 scribes of the Book of Rites, known as the Preserving or the Sea Sojourner. Sojourner? The legendary leader of the Worms' undersea crusades sought to reach the edge of the abyss. I love that the little bits of light on the islands onto those plant things look like swords and stones. Like the imagery and everything here is so good.
Hold it right there, you traitorous slug! How dare you turn your back on this knight to your superior? Superior by rank no longer, for we no longer serve the Commonwealth. This night checked. Here, you hold no sway over this knight. And what have you done to the spawn? Have you no honor left at all? This knight has done that which required doing. His honor cannot sink much lower anyhow. He figured this would be an ideal time to free himself from servitude to you. Why? You? Ooh. You dared to staunch the tempest for all those night wings? Good Sir Deluge. This knight was born to dare. Now, come and fight this knight if you so dare as well. Pyre hearts, banish him. This is an order.
A triumvirate of Worm Knights who perceive the rights as great battles to be won, led by Sir Deluge. This dude here, look at that. Look at his eye popping out. Oh god, I'm right here.
What now, Sir Deluge? Shall you not face this knight yourself and leave the dirty work unto your charges? Fine, Gilman. You wish to stand against your commander, then have it your way.
The mister got me feeling a little loopy. Poke his eyeball. I don't think I can.
Sir, Marsh, Lady Seagrass, to me, banish now this troublemaker. Sir Marsh. Is Worm Knight duty bound to serve the Sir Deluge? She is also duty bound. Oh, I didn't mean to, but okay.
You are a master of this night no longer, Sir Deluge. Thus, shatter our fraternal bonds. This knight would say it was an honor serving you, Sir Deluge. But that would be a bold-faced lie. And yet another stain upon his blackened reputation. Until we meet again!
Oh, wait, you lowly traitor! This night will have your head, Gilman! Push it back in for him. I don't know if anyone else is thinking it, but Gilman looks kind of like a sperm cell. This very honorable and chivalrous sperm knight. Oh gosh. As the day wears on, there is still no sign of the Worm Knight. Your companions grow restless, but then...
Hail! This knight returns with newfound tales to tell, and new scars to show for them.
Sir Gilman is sobbing wet and visibly shaken. He struggles to maintain decorum. He is, in short, the very image of a Worm Knight.
And more importantly, that little Tempest ought no longer pose a threat for now. Behold!
As if on cue, the deathless Tempest begins to simmer and subside. Would you look at that? He really did it.
Of course this knight did it. Now, if it would be alright with you, this knight could really use some shut-eye.
The Worm Knight then collapses in exhaustion, and you and Hedwin help him up. The deal's a deal, Sir Gilman. Welcome to the Nightwings.
Huzzah!
Sir Gilman joined the group. He has also revealed the path north. Welcome. Welcome, Gilman.
Alright, before we move on ahead, I'm going to use the restroom real quick. The heart in his eye, yeah. He's so expressive, I love him.
I love everything about Sir Gilman. You open your phone back up and still in Hulu. Sonic the Hedgehog the movie is Hulu. We watched that in the Discord. It do be fate. It do be fate though. Okay, let's go ahead. With Sir Gilman's aid, you managed to breach the Tempest. You were true to your word, Worm. I shall give you that. But now what? We're stranded in this cursed storm. A most excellent question! And from one most fair! Tell me that once more, and I shall tie you in a knot. Ha! And from one most spirited as well! This knight was wise to side with thee. Just where do we turn from here? Answer the question now. Ever since you adopted his name years ago, you never thought it would just constantly get associated with the hedgehog. Because to be honest, you're not the biggest fan of Sonic, but fate made you one. Hey, that's fate, I guess. Sir Gilman does no such thing. Although, eventually, he does make note of a specific current that should lead you to the lands beyond. If I may, I can corroborate Sir Gilman's account. We're close to making landfall. Then, let me be the first to say, let's go. Onward. Tariq? Aye, Rookie. What is it? That loot you're carrying around. You know how to play that thing, don't you? Why, I suppose I do. Good. I was thinking it's a little gloomy here. We could use a little tune to lighten up the mood. Know what I mean? Aye. Then, let me see what I can do. Hell yeah. Soak this in real quick. This is when I should have taken the break. Damn it.
The valley ran with sorrowful tears and filled the waters high. The misty morning over the brine belies a leaden sky. The stars all hide away from the chill until the evening rise.
It should still play, I think, while we move along, so I'm gonna... Such good, like, visuals along with the song, you know?
The place where Plurna scuttled her foe, the doomed ship still resides. The Titan met her end on its prow, forsaken by the tides. In death she leaves her
We are in
stain
Black Basin.
on the place. The tempest never dies. Her final throes and shivers and
There's a movie on Hulu called Tentacles. You're now going to Hulu for completely unrelated reasons. Okay. It's not a surprise, I guess, or anybody who's like looked at my Twitter. I'll occasionally use gifs from Sabrina, and I probably talked about it before, but I'm always like, sometimes more than not, but I'm always in the mood to just like put on Sabrina in the background and just do stuff. Is Sabrina on Hulu? Like the OG series? I don't remember if it's on Hulu or something else. Starts with Tentacles as a psychosexual horror thriller. Yeah, that sounds about right. Anyways, at last your wagon rumbles onto solid, jagged ground called the Black Basin. Black glass, searing vapor, and strangling forests mark the forsaken lands that loom across the sea. 8 scribes first discover this, the northern landmass of the downside. Your fellow exiles unpack the wagon so you can take stock of how best to reach your destination. Is on Hulu? Hell yeah. Okay, let's talk to some. Ah, Sir Gilman. Yes, please. His crest. Seven seasons, 20 to 26 episodes per season. That is a lot. I watched Sabrina back in the day. I don't think I've ever seen the full series. So, yeah. Want to watch really bad horror movies ever since you were introduced to Lamageddon? Fair. Hulu also has Buffy and X-Files. Hell yeah. I've never seen either of those, so. But I have a couple friends who are big Buffy fans. Yeah, what you got on your mind, Gilman? You approach Sir Gilman, who must have finished practicing his fencing maneuvers. He regards you with a single eye. Hail, Master Reader! This knight is determined to train harder, having joined the famous Nightwings. He shall ensure that this triumvirate continues to live up to its most feared reputation. This is such an honor! And this knight has a great deal of honor to regain. Having fled the Pyre hunts, this knight fully expects now to conduct the rites in a most honorable fashion, to the fullest letter of the law described within the books. Some triumvirates this knight has met, and perchance mentioned by name, they are inclined to bend the rules a bit, sometimes a lot, and to prevail by any means they can. But this is wrong! The exile who refuses to obey the rules, as they are written by the Under King Ors and his 7 friends, deserves neither his honor nor his freedom! That was loud. Thusly does this knight have confidence the Master Reader shall resist any temptations to conduct the rites in any underhanded fashion. Now then, this knight must undergo a thorough cleansing, having trained until the point of foulness. So please, excuse him, Master Reader. Slithers off, humming some sort of chivalrous tune. Gilman is a blessing. He is a blessing. I love him so much. You've watched Parasite, Handmaid's Tale, and Castle Rock, and all since you really watched since having the sub over the span of 4 years. Letterkenny is on Hulu and it's good. I've seen some of Letterkenny. It's pretty good, yeah. Alright, let's continue on. Find that Headwind has asked for several volunteers to scout the area and report back. Alright, everyone. Don't go too far. Let's meet back by dusk. Please, use caution. The exiles dwelling in these lands are, well, rather territorial. For your part, you remain in the Black Wagon to keep watch. You see occasional dark shapes soaring across the sky, but none of them draw near enough for you to see in any. Eventually, your companions make their way back, and everyone arrives as planned, or earlier. Hi, everyone, I'm back. I have come back. Kei returns from the east with little to report, save for word that the glowing molten rock there is very, very hot. This knight yet lives, although he has little else to report. The newest member of the group, Sir Gilman, returns from the northern pass, visibly shaken. He appears to have discovered an intense fear of heights. Tizo wonders whether any species of fish live in the pools or rocks nearby. The little imp Tizo seems disappointed to have left the water behind. He remains with you near the wagon. There's a western path that seems traversable. If we travel by the light of dawn, the shadows and the crags might well cover our advance against whomever may be watching. Begging your pardon, I do not wish to contradict your strategy, madam. Though, in my experience, we shall not remain hidden for long during the climb towards the nest of Trieste. The exiled harp matriarch lived in solitude among these very cliffs. Your dad liking it doesn't make you happy?
Wait, what? Your dad liking it doesn't make you happy? Him and his stinky blanket.
The exiles of the Highwing remnants. You may have no love for them inherently, but they have no qualms with me for now. I may be able to negotiate safe passage.
Last surviving faction of the Winged Harps, the ancient enemies of the Commonwealth. They are coarse as their feathers. They hold themselves superior. The Archjustice Androbeles the Ninth. Negotiate with them? Then Hadwin steps to the lone minstrel, bows, and backs away. Hey, let's not decide on this just yet. We're not going anywhere right now. Not much we can agree on. We'll decide how best to go ahead come morning. For now, let's take the rest of the afternoon and get our bearings. Dodario glares at the sky as everyone disperses. Okay, another vocation. Gosh, hold on. We're choosing that. Oh, we're giving Sir Gilman training. This knight shall be your eager protege. You sit down with Sir Gilman to go over some of the subtler aspects of the rites, such as the state of banishment and how to return from it. You sense he's beginning to understand. Swallows the goal, yeah. Huzzah! Great wisdom clouds over this knight's entire consciousness! If Sir Gilman and his allies are banished, he shall return instantly. Banishes an adversary, one of his banished allies shall return instantly. I don't think this counts for, like, if you banish yourself from the Pyre. They're using a slash, Sir Gilman can use it again. Returning to his previous position, that's really good. Banishes adversaries in a wider area of effect. After a slash, Sir Gilman instantly recovers all his stamina. That's also very good. While Sir Gilman allies are banished, he moves faster than usual and temporarily has infinite stamina. Once per round, when saluting his adversaries, Sir Gilman freezes all exiles for 3 seconds. That's really good. For 10 seconds after banishing an adversary, Sir Gilman deals an additional 10 to the Pyre. Gilman will kill men. This is really good though. Freezing them. What you snacking on? I had one of those Kinder Bueno, the little chocolate bars. Like the Kinder chocolate bars. They're good. They're tasty. God, but freezing somebody is so good. For 3 full seconds, too. You know what? Let's do this. This little knight has little fear of banishment should his self-sacrifice help clear a path for his compatriots. Okay, continue. Ooh, okay. Another choice, Highwing Cove or Black Shore. Jodariel wishes to avoid the harpies by staying on low ground with Black Shore, or the minstrel believes he can negotiate safe passage with the Highwing Cove. I'll take any suggestion. Oh, I like that Seraphine is just kind of dancing on lava. She kind of mixes in with the color. Now she's an angel. She vibin'. She do be vibin'. I mean, I can always just flip a coin. If that would be easier for people. The high wing sounds fun, but you don't know. Okay, I'll flip a coin. Heads is Black Shore, tails is High Wing. Tails it is. Show yourselves, you frightened little birds! All day long, the winged shadows cross the sun. They're being watched. Jodariel is very unhappy about it, though the lone minstrel now attempts to calm her. Perhaps I can communicate with them. Please, believe me, madam, when I say your enmity towards the harps at best be held here in check. Jodariel looks at him with fury in her eyes, yet retains her calm demeanor. Soon she grants his request with a silent gesture. Then he calls towards the heavens. Good sisters, we are humble passengers such as you, and beg your leave. We journeyed by the sea and seek safe passage through your land. We shall not disturb your hunting or your nests. The request is met with nothing but silence. He searches in vain for any indication of acknowledgement. Then, without notice, one of them appears. She swoops the minstrel up and out of sight before Jodariel can respond. Damnation! Wait here, I shall go find him. For a long, terrible moment, you are alone with the panic. Soon, however, the lone minstrel returns, amid the sound of flapping wings. He dusts his cloak and calls out towards them. We thank you for your hospitality, good sisters. We shall be on our way. Having seen this, Jodariel returns sullen. The exiles of the High Wing remnants are letting you pass, for now. It seems they are having some dispute within their ranks, which no further troubles for the time. It is a warning, one that leaves Jodariel fuming. She loses -4 hope for the next fight. Oh boy. Not great. not great for us. At last you arrive at the nest of Trieste, where the next rite is soon to commence. You cannot shake the feeling that unseen eyes watch your wagon's ascent and remain watching now. Time for Falcon Run. Unicorn looks sick as fuck, isn't it though? It's so cool.
Hey, you guys. What brings you out? What brings you way out here? No, wait. Don't tell me. I don't want to know. All I want you is to get the best deals and the downside.
Oh, that's lava. I was like, what is this? $180. Any adversaries banished by the bear take longer to return. Oh, that would be really good. After dazzling the Pyre's adversaries, Pyre, the bear's Pyre is restored by up to 5. That would be pretty good. Although I don't think we necessarily need it. The Thorn Knot is still a good idea, you know? I kind of want to save up for this. But I also want the Stardust. I'm just gonna grab the Stardust. Yeah.
Poppy Ficky Toste.
Ew, they're leaving, Dad. Just look at how much we got this time.
Okay. You and your fellow exiles gather on the blessed lands of the Nest of Trieste, expecting the imminent commencement of the rites. This guy's chuckling makes you uncomfortable. I can shut him up. There's literally an option if you click on him, he will sigh and then just shut up. You see no sign of any adversaries, but then you hear a whooshing sound above.
This then is what passes for the Night Wings now? Such rabble. Not even dressed for the occasion yet. See, the scribes have little pride in their tradition. Hold your tongue, bird. We have not come for talk. No. You have come on behalf of your commonwealth. Mark my words, you horned filth. When at last we free ourselves, your home shall burn.
With that, the harp swoops off as Jodario glowers at her. Winged warriors of the mountainous outskirts of the Commonwealth, where they are feared. They fled to the mountain's nest, awaiting the day when they would darken the skies and retake the land.
Oh.
It is only then that you realize another harp has come.
He is quite serious, I assure you. I can help you sort her out. It's in our mutual interest. You know not of my interest. Let's give this another shot. Hi, my name is Pamitha Thane.
He appears to be one of the winged harps of the High Wing remnants, now bound in exile. The lecture noises intensifies, yep.
The surly one back there, that was my blood sister. No need to judge her harshly, though. We've only met just now, though I must say, something about you reminds me of her. How dare you implicate that I have anything in common with your ilk? Just then Hedwin shows up to intervene. He whispers something to Jill Dariel. No, Hedwin, you cannot be serious. Jody, I'm asking you to trust me on this one. Am I perhaps interrupting something? Say, by the way, however did you make it all this way across the sea? Didn't see you fly in. Trust is something I am loath to give away, Hedwin. You have set our course thus far, and I have followed. So, do as you must. Sandalwood had better have an explanation for all this. So Dariel storms off as Hedwin turns to you. What's your take on this one, friend? Our informant wants someone for each mask. I didn't expect we would run into a harp, yet here she is. What are you getting from her? You turn your attention to Pamitha, who has been watching with bemused interest. Ah, a reader, are you? Pleasure making your acquaintance, darling. Well, here I am. Gaze intently all you like and tell your comrades the truth of it, why don't you? You sense that she is conflicted about something, though you do not know what. You also sense that her motives, here and now, are earnest. He seems alright. You tell Hedwin that you think the group should take its chances with Pamitha and take her at her word. My thoughts as well. I think and hope Jodariel will come around. He then turns to Pamitha. I'm Hedwin. Will accept your offer on 2 conditions if you hear me out. Conditions? Why sure, I love a good condition or two. First, after we're finished here tonight, you come along and make sure that your blood sister and her friends don't give us any trouble when we're headed out. Second, you'll have to find a way to get along with Jodariel, whom you met earlier. Oh, brilliant. I had no plans to stick around here anyway. As for your demon friend, no doubt we'll get along famously. Now, I don't suppose you have an extra set of raiments I could use, because I think the rite is getting started. You look up and see that she is right. Pamitha Thane joined you. He has a score to settle. You're welcome.
I thought for sure the stars would have eluded you by now. Yet here you are, somehow, upon the nest of Trieste. And you've swelled the ranks of your triumvirate not merely with another, but with 2. One from the Pyre heart, no less, and one who seeks the favor of the adversaries whom you'll imminently face. They are the essence. Winged terrors, as you soon shall see. Can your longing for freedom match their hatred for the vibrant country that was once your home?
From a distance, you observe as Pamitha, now clad in Nightwing raiments, heads towards your adversaries in the rites. You, what sort of heathen harp would dare take wing against us? Your new companion then loosens the bindings on her mask. Hello there, Tamitha. She's one of the winged harps of the High Wing remnants, now bound in exile. Tamitha's blood sister stares back at her a while before responding. What in the saint's name are you doing here with them? Saint Trieste Tethys, 5th of the 8 scribes of the Book of Rites, known as the Disciplined or the Blessed Born. Eldest of the harp matriarchs, she anointed the Book of Rites and gave its words their power. Excuse me. Doubtless you come to dig your talons in my back again. Oh, sister, I've come to have a word with you. Save it. I cannot help but share your poisoned blood, but I shan't ever count you as my sister. You expect me to believe that you came all this way for talk? You waste your time as ever. What's life? Not a waste of time, dear sister. Give me a chance, why don't you? What do you even have to lose anymore? Besides, I've come a long way. Silence. You shan't have come here, and the time for talk is long since past. If only you could see yourself, again, consorting with my enemies. Fine, then. Savor their defeat, but I warn you, stay away from me. Mitha says nothing more as her blood sister turns away again. Mitha gets your attention. Listen to me, dear reader. Reader, darling. Most of you are ill-equipped to navigate this place. Let me conduct this right on your behalf. My wings shall bring you victory. Dear lady, your words ring true. This knight is flattered that you have not eaten him, as is the tendency among your kind. This knight hereby volunteers his post in the triumvirate for thee. Sir Gilman refuses to participate in the rites this night so that Pamitha can face her sister. You observe the treacherous terrain. Pamitha should be better suited to the rites here than the rest of you.
Now let us begin.
Chivalrous. I love that. He is chivalrous. Pamitha sounds like a silly name you'd make up. You're not gonna lie. Fair. Oh, everyone is... Oh, okay. I have to choose her first. I was like, what? Just to get all of these out first. You stick with it. But... when people say chivalry is dead, show them Sir Gilman. Yep. Let's just make it an even 10. Okay.
Pamitha.
Why, I thought you'd never ask there, darling. I accept. Little bird is going to conduct... If the little bird is going to conduct the rites for us, then I shall not. Unwilling. Hedwyn is pretty high up there, so I'm not going to want to kind of round here. Thank you, Panini. Worms are superior to humans. They're worms with a Y. But yes, you are correct. Look at that. Look at that worm. Too chivalrous. I know. Worms with a Y are superior to humans, true. I mean, everyone's pretty high up there now, so... yeah, let's choose Hedwyn. Fuck it. Oh yeah. Let's give him something, though. Ah, fuck.
Hedwyn.
You can count on me, my friend.
been using Tizo a lot for these rights, but he does have +1 hope. Oh, thank God I didn't use Shodariel. Like, she can't be used. Because she has -5 morale right now. Fuck it. We use Tizo again.
Tizo.
Promises to do his best. Excuse me. Durgs is really funny to you. The Durgs have plagues your brain. Imagine typing. Imagine. Morale? Morale just means hope, and hope means how quickly they come back from being banished.
Very well.
Come then, sister. Perhaps when we are finished here, you shall spare a moment of your time. I shan't be tricked by you again, Pamitha. How poetic that we meet here in the downside. I can think of nowhere else where I would rather see you rot for what you did to our people, to me.
Who's Morales? Pamitha seems to sense your presence and then catches your attention.
Hello there, reader darling. I'm going to be at your mercy in all this. I'd like it very much if you could minimize how often I'm to wallow in a state of banishment. Quickly, let me show you what we Sisters of the High Remnants can do.
Reader, you put yourself amidst a feud between two sisters.
Look how quickly she
That
flies.
seems entirely unwise. Even for you.
This kind of still works, but oh my god, is it not great?
Her kind's all but forgotten Saint Triesta's grace. Now it begins in earnest.
Yeah, like this isn't super great. But okay. Dash. Her dash knocks other people away. And she has a tackle. Excuse me. Our people, she flap. The flaps, yeah, she do be flapping though. She do be birdie though, not gonna lie, yep.
See, darling, we harps. Not so bad. Now I suppose we'd better get to work, Just don't go underestimating Tamitha over there. I trust you'll do the best you can.
She's a vengeful tactician of the High Wing remnants who's plot the Commonwealth's ruin.
To the skies, sister. Tell information.
Most importantly, she commits tax fraud.
Righteous.
Just to be a little careful.
Edwin, was it? Let me tell you something. You know how to fly.
I wish I did right about now.
Then listen up. My blood sister's there, she'll swoop right past you if you're careless. But we harps cannot simply get much altitude down here. So, she goes for any unfair tricks, just jump for it and catch her in the act. We always hated when I used to do that to her.
Now for their pyre. Oh.
Oh fuck.
Banished each in turn.
Oh, ho, ho.
To each
Fuck.
his own.
Ah. Okay, they came back.
Now then. Oh,
Right, so they're flying. Oh, excuse me.
out with you all. So it is.
Do some damage in there. I think I'm good on the money. Oh, fuck. Oh, 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 oh.
What happened there?
Don't worry about it. Fuck it. Oh, no.
Yes.
Okay. Now I gotta be careful. I think I'm at the
Poor
limit.
exile.
Fuck. Oh.
Both vanished.
We're all just dying. No.
Ouch.
Okay. I'm maxed out now. Fuck. Oh, fucking
Your pyre
fuck.
will be
Oh, that's fine. Not a perfect, but that's fine.
one false move. Sublime.
Okay.
Tread lightly.
In I go.
Did it.
Damn you, Pamitha. You're not true Thane. To think that you have the gall to call me sister. Still after everything you've wrought upon us. I hate to break it to you, Pamitha. I don't think my actions, however much they hurt you, had any effect on our familiar status. Look, I know I wronged you, so I am here. Don't know my side of the story. Your side of the story? If I wanted to hear more lies and deception, I ought to have asked the Commonwealth to stay my sentence for a while. Ah, you've come all this way to face me, Pamitha, then come and do it. You and me.
You think that you see Pamitha shake her head?
Everyone, stay back.
Prevail over Tamitha. Let's go.
What is it those two think they're doing? The rights are not the place to settle petty scores. Oh, you poor thing.
You okay, Tamitha? Tamitha. Fuck. Yeah? What you trying to do there?
A banishment.
Fuck. Nice. Good. Good, good.
Too slow there, Pamitha.
I was.
Patience, reader.
It's all a mess. There we go.
It is done. But you know
They don't
who
even have
prevailed.
handrails along the perimeter you could fall in.
His adversary stood no chance.
You spent a good minute trying to remember how to spell violation.
The
Oof.
right is done.
Pam, Tam, Pamitha. 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 Thane. Jarl. They do have handrails. You don't remember that in the movie. Now I don't know what you're talking about. You Commonwealth filth! Only through that traitor's help could you have beaten us. Not really. I think we were doing pretty good, to be honest. You postpone the coming of our liberty, but we are ever patient, and our sisters on the other side shall have their day with or without my aid. Pamitha, wait, please. You've found good company here, Pamitha. May you wither here with them. I hope sincerely we shan't ever meet again. Pamitha stands motionless as her blood sister departs. Hey, he's gone. Rest of us are headed back. What about you? The movie Sky High. Why are you guys talking about Sky High? Holy shit, I haven't thought about that in forever. Greatest movie of the early 2000s? Debatable, but it's up there. Sure, I don't see why not.
The 8 scribes bless us with their ways. A flash of inspiration for next time. The imp Tizo appears to have a certain depth of knowledge.
Yes, flash of inspiration. Now we can go down this path, I think. So close.
Until the stars align.
Why aren't I talking about Sky High, Mr. Streamer? Because I didn't even realize you guys were talking about Sky High because I was playing Pyre. After thwarting the Essence, the Triumvirate of the Harpies. Almost effortlessly, you and the others return to your wagon to consider your next move. How best to integrate Pamitha into the group. Oh, don't worry. I won't be staying longer than it takes. I like my air fresh so I can sleep up on the roof. I trust the rites will cause my path and Tamitha's to cross again before long. You're welcome with us for now, Pamitha. Trust is what got us here. Is that right, Ruki? But Ruki does not seem to hear the question. He has been rather quiet since first encountering our new guest. Pamitha shoots him a smile. Shoots him one of her smiles. He stammers something about having to check the wagon wheels again. He runs off. During this discussion, the minstrel pulls you aside. They're haps, legally distinct from harpies. Harp 7. On Disney Plus. Imagine spelling things correct. Couldn't be you. God, that's another subscription you've forgotten about. I got a Disney Plus subscription and then canceled it because I just wanted to watch The Mandalorian. And I did. And then I canceled it. Because that's how I do things. He runs off during this discussion. Minstrel pulls me aside. Reader, I ask a moment of your time outside. Oh no, Fini, Homestuck. Homestuck! Oh. Okay, this is one of those things where I'm like, I don't know if it was something that started by Homestuck or something that started before Homestuck and adapted by Homestuck because of what Homestuck is. But that is leet speak, young lady. That is leet speak. God, that's so terrible. Anyways, what is Homestuck? Don't worry about it. I don't necessarily know what Homestuck is either. Just don't worry about it. There's somewhere... Oh, excuse me. Hold on. There is somewhere I may ask we go, here in Black Basin, Reader. By your leave, of course, and provided that the stars allow it. Would you look upon them for us, please? Right next door, Lou the Vernal Star. The Glade of Lu, directly due west. Then, it is just as my client indicated. The great sap scholar Lu Scholarian here vanquished the root titan, limbless Arizek. Sorry, Pappy. Oh my gosh. I don't know how I feel about that. Do you think of a Homestuck before you speak of old people speak? Fair. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about you saying Poppy or Pappy. And this client of yours, our informant, Sandalwood, he entrusted us with this wagon, this quest. Why? What does he want from us? You may ask him yourself. He awaits somewhere in Wakingwood, due west. It's a really long webcomic series. The webcomic series that is really popular. It was very much what? Oppie. Very much what? Beanie, no. How do we find him? He shall find us. Seems you are soon to meet Sandalwood. At dawn, you shall have to cross a single narrow path leading west, where he supposedly awaits. Just very much. Just very much, I guess. Good old Pamitha. I love her design. It's so cool. Her plus at hand and the off chance of a good occasion. Very bad one. You guys want some moonshine? Oh yeah. It kind of gets you drunk. That's me much. Okay. I remember back in the day when Homestuck was still like I guess in its heyday, you would go to a convention and you'd see like young teens and stuff, teens and all that in Homestuck cosplay. But Homestuck cosplay means painting your skin a different color because that's kind of how the majority of that went. I don't necessarily know. And without a shadow of a doubt, that paint would get fucking everywhere. Like, if they were wearing just like a shirt and the rest of them was painted and all that, like some of it would actually be on like carpet, the walls, stuff that they'd have to clean up, and it's like, bro, why? Oh, it's terrible. I think there's better ways to do this. I remember hearing about one person tried dyeing their skin with Sharpies. Oh no. I mean, I guess Sharpies wouldn't come off on like the walls if you leaned on them, you know? But like I would hear stories of like somebody who, you know, they're staying at the hotel, a Homestuck person they take a bath and like their bath is just drenched in the color, like it is. That's it. They're gonna have to get a new tub because the tub is like a dark gray color now. So in other words, it's just a funky webcomic with a niche fandom. Yeah, I wouldn't call it niche. It's huge. Yeah, let's talk to Pamitha. You approach Pamitha, who has kept to herself since she joined your small band. You sense she is unaware of you as she preengs her flight feathers, but then she speaks up before you can do the same. Come to check up on me, reader darling. In those first moments when we met, that vote of confidence in me, which you relayed to the nice headwind boy. I'm grateful you were willing to see past the wings. One of your kind's ancient enemies just happens to insert herself in your group, and you just go with it? However, I assure you that my motives here are plain. You'll see. My business with my blood sister Tamitha, and nothing more. Briefly met, I think, is quite the catch. As to the little quibbles between us, well, it's a long story. All in all, one that's frankly no one's business but hers and mine. Surely we'll run into her again, maybe not soon, but in time. We have the rest of our long lives to wait. Anyways, happy to aid you in your quest until such time, especially to the extent that it aids me in mine. A simple exchange. Until then, stay vigilant, darling. You needn't concern yourself with making small talk with someone like me. Besides, we harps have a saying, liars abound. She swoops away before you can respond. I think we're gonna go just a little bit longer and then call it. Sulfur main. Let's go. Wagon has hit a snag, ascending the black crags. The wheel is stuck, Jordadio does not please. First that blasted little bird, now this. Though you lack Jordadio's raw strength, you join in as she attempts to dislodge the wagon. At last, with a roar and a heave, she forces the wagon back onto solid ground. May this sandalwood be worth all the hassle. Thank you, Jody. I'm guessing sandalwood doesn't like to be kept waiting. He is very patient. Excuse me. He is very patient, on the contrary. Not I. Let us move on. Soon the wagon is prepared. Press onward, down the jagged slopes toward Wakenwood. Your companions who explored ahead advise on which of the fork paths best. Alright. Flameberg or Last Peak. You know what? I'm gonna make the choice this time. I'm gonna go with Glass Peak. Having gone the route Pamitha recommended, she directs you to a particular crag, no more conspicuous than the others. They clip our wings before they cast us down, you know. But just the same, we learn to fit around just a bit. Just watch. Pamitha swoops to a nearby peak and disappears behind it. She's an outcast of the high-winged remnants. She does not keep you waiting long and returns bearing an item of sorts. You just remembered you bought a Homestuck game. I mean, that's not too bad. Imagine it was pretty okay. Oppie, were you part of the Homestuck fandom? Were you a Homestuckian? I don't know what they call their fandoms. Alright. Good night, Snoink. Hope you have a good one. Are you, reader darling? The high-wing remnants stash away such things
for such an occasion.
Luminous idol. After grasping the orb, the bearer instantly recovers all stamina. That's really good. You read it like 3 years ago, so no? Okay. I was just wondering. Having passed beyond the Black Crags, your wagon arrives at the edge of Wakingwood. It is here. Sandalwood is to be expecting you, however.
Most puzzling. He ought to have met us here.
You said he would find us himself.
Aye. He has to find us at the edge of the woods.
You're supposed to keep waiting for him?
He who desires for the stars to be your guide, as always. The rights beckon, and the rights take precedence above all else. Surely he shall find us yet.
Firmly grasp it. We're all homestuck with this pandemic. This is Rudy Fucks, Oppie Homestucks, your legacy, Pepe Hams. Then let's keep moving. How do we get through these woods? Note 2 possible paths forward from this point, though cautious that the woods are difficult to navigate, and Sandalwood would have known the most expedient path. Alright, I made the last choice, so it's up to you guys. Says his client Sandalwood studied the rights here, or Sandalwood once resided here. Greymoor or Needlefield. Can we go to the corner store and pick up some potato chips? Man, I wish. Yeah, you guys choose. Needlefield or Greymoor. Well, you hate for needles, so you'll go for the place that's not needles? Okay.
Sandalwood has led a long life, compared with any of you at least. In the latest years of his exiles, he became rather reclusive for a variety of reasons. He shall no doubt explain. He found some solace here in these woods, though I fear I cannot locate his residence without him.
Unfortunately, you find no trace of Sandalwood, and without him there to guide you, you remain quite lost. The woods seem to have encroached. There is no path forward, while neither of the paths leading backwards appear to match the route you took. Man, I should have waited. Now I have to choose. Oh, fuck. Hey, girl. I know this pandemic has really got us all down. Lol. Ha ha ha. No more gym for me. Heartbreak. But I've got this great new book you can read that's super relatable during this pandemic. Homestuck. Smiley happy face. Let's go with Burnt Grove, I guess. The woods are so disorienting at this point, you decide to break for camp and survey the surroundings for any clues. Ooh. He was here, he was here!
You mean Sandalwood? If I may ask, how can you be so certain?
I think from this? It says something. I don't know what it says, but I feel like it has to mean something. Gay produces a small strip of bark she found in the ashes. At first it seems like nothing of interest until you see a message carved on the inside. Park strip. It must mean something. Come to Cinderroot. Okay. You forgot to add the emojis? Oh no. What is... I don't understand the use of like the crazy wacky emoji. I don't know. Maybe I'm old. Oh, it's some kind of message from the sandalwood guy? Seems that way. Way to Cinderroot. South of the Glade of Lu. It is due west. Perhaps we can set forth early tomorrow, when the woods are still. You're fucking insane, Rudy. Is that what it means? Sounds good. Everyone rest up. Big day coming up. Okay. Let's also forage for resources. I kind of... I don't know. Like, we haven't done study in private, so I'll just do that. We'll see what happens. You find a relatively quiet clearing to study the Book of Rings. With undivided attention, through greater understanding comes the reader's influence. Bonuses. Ah. How much your exiles deal to the adversary's pyre. Oh, are these permanent? Let's go with presents. Inspiration comes to you in a flash, whether the book or from within, you're not sure. Tenacity. Rudy's such a jokester, guys. Everyone should DM it to Disney. He hates that emote. I mean, fair. Cinderroot. You arrive on the outskirts of Cinderroot, but once again the informant Sandalwood is nowhere to be found. You sense the hopes of your companion waning as you search through the area. Yields nothing. Then, something startles the little imp, Tiza. Crying out in surprise, he has spotted something. Someone. A tall figure strides forth from the trees, making a sound like laughter. The imp charges towards him and leaps right into the figure's arms. They embrace. Hail, Tizo. But you look famished. Here. The tall sap produces something that the imp swallows immediately and with great pleasure. Tree-like creatures known for their ingenuity, cleverness, and ambition, having allied with them, the Commonwealth achieved in decades what it could not achieve in centuries. What do you think of that emote? You think of an out-of-touch middle-aged actor? I can see that. The lone minstrel nods his head in affirmation. Everyone, I wish to introduce you to my client, Volfred Sandalwood. He is the lone minstrel's client, Headwind's informant, and the leader of the Nightwing. It's been too long, Volfred, sir. Too long indeed, Tariq. I trust your new companions bring some color to your days. They do, sir. I think that you shall find them worthy of the Nightwings. As Sap looks upon the lot of you, you cannot sense his thoughts. We shall see. Then he turns to you. You must be the reader. I'm certain that we all appreciate your efforts here, my boy. Though, we shall manage on our own from here on out.
You're welcome to continue with us, of course. Though you are free to go. I trust you have been adequately compensated for your time. Thanks as well for looking after all my books. BRB, okay. You consider what to say to all of this. No, fuck that. I insist on staying. You stand your ground, meeting Wolfred's steady gaze, and assert to him that you do not feel your commitments to and from this group have yet been satisfied. Hold on. Wolfred, sir, I'm Hedwin. My companions and I are the ones who answered your call. We followed the signs you left for us. Now we're here, thanks to you, also to this reader. Not just a reader, he is our friend. My friend. Is not disposable. We made him a promise. Our freedoms are now intertwined. Wolfred smirks at this. Freedom's not something to be traded or exchanged, my boy. I'd hope that you would have come to grasp this by now. He breathes a sigh. It seems we've started off on the wrong foot. It's not my wish to sour the occasion, but there's much to do. You have a right to get to, do you not? I'll come along, though shall not interfere, for it seems you have kinship with this reader of yours. Now then, Tariq. Hi, Valfred, sir. Come, let us have a chat. Of course, sir. Valfred strides along the black wagon, which must have belonged to him. You sense many conflicting emotions among your companions. He knows much of the rites, so welcome him aboard. Your wagon cuts through a clearing to arrive at the Glade of Lu, where the stars directed you. Wolfred nods his approval, but leaves everyone to their devices. Gonna talk to Falcon Ron again.
Alright. Hey, you guys. You know, I guess I didn't need to get the word about this new franchise we opened up here just now. So, give you a great deal. Just tell your friends, okay? Oh, and hey there, Mr. Sandalwood.
Good day to you as well, Ron. Should I shut him up? Yes, but what if I... Okay, I can't. Once per right, if the bearer's pyre is extinguished, it is instead restored by 5. That is very good. I wish I had a better way to, like, you know... fuck it. You know what? Let's splurge on some stuff. Okay. I mean, I guess I could sell this to him. So quickness. It's not bad. Okay. So, be seeing you guys. And I'll do these on my own time. Actually, well, we're gonna do the book later. Actually, we can read the book now. I'm not gonna get another page by the end of the stream. Okay, page 5, we did that one. This one. And not long, the Empire began to crumble. We did that one. Emperor Solium Mur knew not of this, of course. His expedition yielded not the treasure he desired, but brought him closer to his country than he had ever been before. As he traveled down the river Scholarion in pursuit of greed, he found instead an inkling of shame. He saw the sunken faces of his people, heard their words for him. In time he could not ignore it, and it proved more than he could bear. The river finally claimed him, his belongings, and his retinue. Once the people heard, I understand they cried with joy. Perhaps he ought have perished, but the mercy shown to him, I think, is what transformed him. My emperor lay there, bleeding and alone, stranded in a bitter land beyond the river. With fleeting consciousness, he understood the folly of his quest, the folly of his rule over his country. Thus did he await the last embrace. It was the imp Haub that nursed him back to health, and warned him often of the dangers he would have to face. Many enemies of Mur would have come in search for him, some under employment by the rope collar, some longing openly for cold, uncomplicated vengeance. I was one of them. I plunged into the river willingly. We needed to be sure that he was dead. Emperor Mur. Scarcely could I recognize him when I at last found him. A half-starved animal, horns sprouted from his head, a bestial mirror of his blackened reputation. And I, a man who conquered countries, feared my emperor then, in such a way as I had never known. My charge had been to slay this man, but when I discovered him, he was already fighting for his life. The little imp Haub proved of little help against the Sisters of the Arch, whose entire lives are culminating in this instant. I was unable to watch. My heart ached with pity, such pity for the man, for the love I felt for him when I had served him, sprang to his defense. That's all we got for now. Okay, Wilfred, what you got? As you approach Wilfred Sandalwood, you feel very much aware that you reside within his black wagon rather than he in yours. He studies you in silence for a time, then... Tariq, if you have a moment. Aye. Wilfred, sir, what is it? This reader. You deem him worthy, by your estimation? The lone minstrel tilts his hat in your direction. If you wish my own estimation, Wilfred, sir, then I do. Of course, it is not entirely for me to say, but I have seen this reader integrating with the others well. I believe that his achievements are self-evident in having reached Black Basin. Your instructions were deliberately difficult to follow, yet he and the others followed them. Indeed. Your words make sense as ever, Tariq. Hey, welcome back, Oppie. And what does little Tizo know of him, I wonder? Tizo indicates that, as a matter of fact, he is happy to have you around. There you have it, sir. I see. Continues to examine you. High praise isn't often spoken by those two, my boy. Nonetheless, I shall be watching you. Now, pardon us. Tariq and I have matters to discuss. They leave without another word, although you think you notice Lone Mitchell look your way over his shoulder. Whew. Okay. Let's do this next one. I was practicing this voice earlier today. I don't know if I'll have it. I couldn't quite decide on what I wanted. You and your fellow exiles arrived at the sacred site called Glade of Lu. Yes. Now look to the stars in the sky to signal the beginning of the next rite. The woods about you bring a sense of tranquility you have not felt in some time. But then you notice one of the trees move. It shuffles towards you and regards you with an exaggerated bow.
Well, goodness. By the roots of loose Galarian.
A third of the 8 scribes of the Book of Rites known as the Wise or the Philosopher. He is said to have fathomed every thought, and his wisdom flows through the river of his name.
It would appear the rumors are correct. The Night Wings have returned. Ooh, but where are my manners, One moment.
The sap claws at his mask with his wispy fingers.
Much better. Each manly tender stuff at your service. Perhaps you've heard of me?
He is a sycophant who seems certain he will land a position of high standing once he is free. Doctor Who looking motherfucker, yeah. He also reminds me of Conan O'Brien a little. Maybe it's just the orange hair things.
My fellows and myself, you perhaps known us as the Chastity.
Triumvirate bent on exploiting the rights to gain status in the Commonwealth.
We soon shall stand against you in the rights. For now, I am just whiling away my time making small talk. Now then, as I have introduced myself, your turns. To whom am I speaking to?
Then, in your mind's eye, you see Wolfred and hear his voice. Manly Tunjastaff is not to be trusted. Reveal neither yourselves to him nor me. You prefer chastity? The red hair, the big forehead, no no eyebrows. The arrogance, you see it, yeah.
Well,
Beneath her mask, Jodadio stares back at him in silence. You suspect Wolfred's message may have reached every member of the group.
why? Now, how rude. Indeed, well, fine. Ignore me, but you do so at your peril. Anyhow, once this evening rites commences, any moment now, and I'm afraid ignoring me won't be an option any longer. Oh, and now I do believe the sky is beginning to show. We'll have to chat again some other time. Now come along, come along.
Manly bows again and wanders off into a clearing as the stars begin to burn. You know, I was looking up.
Once again,
Oh,
the stars
I'll talk
align
about
themselves
after this.
before you, reader. And here now at the Glade of Liu, I have to say, you've come so very far. But there are those, such as your adversaries called the Chastity, who have toiled for this too. They know that with their freedom comes great opportunity. It could be yours instead. Please show the chastity that the Nightwings are superior.
I wonder, honored Nightwings, how well you know these woods. Why, these woods would strangle you, and I'm afraid I could do little to stop them if I tried. You might do better to beware of them. When Joe Dario continues to ignore him, he grows upset. Why, you insolent! Then, fine. Let us begin the dance indeed. He shoves his mask back on and in a huff. Great opportunity, yes. And allow me to thank you in advance for helping me return unto my proper station, the Commonwealth.
Who shall conduct the rites?
Well, I feel like we should put Pamitha in there. What was I saying? Oh, right. So, I was trying to figure out what voice to use for him. I think that's the voice that I was using before. But in order to really kind of choose a voice, I had to look up a set of his lines from the game. And when I did, and I googled him, there was a weirdly large okay,
Go on.
I can't even say a large amount of fan art, but there was more fan art of him than I would expect for some reason. Including one of him dancing with some lady that I think is just either the artist or someone's OC, and I don't understand. Anyways. Excuse me. Okay. This is fine. Having this be in here, yeah. No headwind for now. Because he is way up there, and I want to increase the others. So, Sir Deluge. Sir Gilman, excuse me. That's travesty, why would I say that? Let's go with him. Oh, thank God you thought you were gonna say people were horny for him. I think just that one fan art. I think that one bit of fan art. Well, okay, hold on. No. Sort of. That one fan art seems to be horny for him. And there was another one that was like, something about success and sucking and somebody not getting either of them. Never mind. Just that one in particular seemed horny for him, and it was weird. Anyways, Gilman, what do I give you? Do I give you this? Extra 10 coins isn't bad. It's never really bad. But having more quickness isn't bad either. Succeeding, yeah. Actually, the Thorn Knot would be good for... Oh, well... You know what? No.
contract for him. I don't like that. Although I don't know if the talisman, the thorn knot works for. That's what you do every day because you suck at most things. Oppie, no you don't. You're awesome at things. Oh yeah, we did get this one. We'll do that. Pyre instantly recovers all stamina.
Sir Gilman. Very well.
Let's shut this guy up already. Oh, you quite ready? Finally, oh Nightwings? May all of those masks of yours ensure no harm should come to any of your lovely countenances. No. Come along, come along. Let's give the stars a show. May I present to you Humboldt Manley Jr. Why, he is every bit my equal and is poised to guarantee the tender stout line shall have a bright, bright future. Manly Sapling, which is not only has a name, but bears a similar posture and likeness to him. He goes on and on about his sapling for a while. Alright, Sir Gilman, I've just about had it with this one. Let's banish him already, and stupid sapling too. This night, now as ever, is in full accordance with you, good Pamitha. Now, isn't he just the most precious thing you've ever seen? Sapling is nothing but extension of Manly. If he is banished, the sapling should cease to trouble you as well.
Manly and his offspring hold no small degree of influence within the Commonwealth, Breeder. There are many who would welcome his return, though none so much as he himself. Now to your adversary's Pyre is the first to falter.
Oh, what is this? It seems the woods themselves are closing in upon our little soiree. Oh, do be careful now. These grasping roots and vines, they may not hold you in such high esteem as I.
Your adversary Manly is comfortable in this suffocating glade. Yet he longs now for the glorious.
Oh dear, the woods are closing in, uncomfortably close at that. Oh, hey Aaron. Thank you for the raid. Hi, welcome raiders. I'm not embarrassed now. Hey, how you doing? What were you playing? How was stream? How you know? How was all that then? You're playing some Valheim? Hell yeah! How's Valheim? You are for sure not addicted. Fair. Well, welcome raiders. We're playing Pyre. We're in the middle of a battle right now. Just in case you don't know, I'm doing a bunch of voices. A lot of them are bad, so I'm sorry, but I'm doing them anyways.
Oh dear, the woods are closing in. Uncomfortably close at that. Whatever shall we do? Perhaps if you just stand aside a while, we could put an end to this that much sooner.
Getting the both of you. Fuck, are you serious?
A deftly thwarted drive.
Yeah, made it in.
Flung the orb
I
into
forgot
the
his
flame.
fling was like really bad.
Say, have any of you noticed how it's feeling rather crowded out here? Almost as if the 100 minds themselves resent you being here. Yes, I rather think that's it.
100 Minds is one of the scribes. Slash kind of one of the gods.
So cease with all your scurrying about with that damned orb and let me handle this.
The orb.
Oh, I didn't even do that. Shit, I just ran right into that. Oh, okay. Well,
Magnificent.
Alright, you Nightwings, I've had it up to here with you. Or perhaps I simply had it up to here with all of these encroaching plans, these miserable things. Either way, I don't appreciate how you're ignoring me.
Yes.
just gonna
As per the sacred
fly right in. Conan is mad. Conan's big mad. Ooh! Go, 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 go. Go, go, go. I should have just tossed it in, but you know, this is fine too.
Tamatha banished.
Oh shit. They're gonna get a point. They're gonna get a point.
Tis what the scribes obey. Quench now their pyre, and it is done.
Damn, I couldn't get it perfect, but that's fine.
'Twas as though the scribes themselves stood by their side. Thus end this night's
Conan is
proceedings.
big mad. I ought to swipe the smug look off there at Sam's face.
Yeah, that's how we do it, people.
Well, my. Oh, worry not, oh Nightwings. I'm not angry with you, honestly. But I am very, 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 very disappointed. I thought perhaps we had something going on here between us. You scratch my back, I scratch yours and all. Instead, however, you decide to spit in my face. Fine. We'll have to see where all your rudeness gets you. Now, ta-ta.
Always is there greater knowledge to be
What an
gained.
asshole.
It would appear that rookies not too old to learn
Faster,
new
stronger, and a
tricks.
little better looking too? I mean, is there anything I can't handle? I kind of went manly there and not rookie. That's fine. 50% chance to return in only 1 second. I just wanted to get the double jump, so I think the coming back to life real quickly, like rolling the dice on that is good. So close.
The exiled Pamatha perhaps can learn the errors of her kind.
Well, Tamitha, soon I'll be catching up with you at this, whether you like it or not.
Okay. Flying faster for 5 seconds after banishing. Don't care about that one much. While casting her aura, Pamitha can trigger Aura Burst. Banishes nearby adversaries. That's good for some of the people I can't catch. Pamitha is banished while Winged Fury's effect is active. She returns twice as quickly as usual. Gains +4 quickness. Presence and hope makes her better all around. Oh, +4 the quickness, presence, and hope. All 3 of them. Holy shit. That is super good. Saluting her adversaries, Pamitha instantly switches to their nearest ally. That could be good. But we're gonna take this path because I want the +4 to everything.
The holy power of the eldest matriarch until the next bride.
That was well done, my boy. I'm beginning to see why your companions vouch for you. Don't let it get to your head, of course. He's kind of a dick, too. After besting the chastity with ease, you return to your wagon to consider your next move. Inadequate performance back there. Adequate? Yes, adequate. The next part of our plan. Go. Have your reader there consult the stars. See where they take you next. I'll give you a hint. It's further north. It's going to be high up. This night here you say high up? And it's going to be cold. I'll see you. Come on, my friend. Let's have a look outside then. That plan Wolfred mentioned. I just wanted you to know. I don't know what he means. We're here because we're going to be free again. We won't be living out our days as exiles. It's the only plan as far as I'm concerned. But there's always a catch, right? Let's see what Wolfred has to say. Anyway, I'll leave you to it. No matter what, we're getting closer thanks to you. Look towards the heavens. Solium, the golden star. Golden star shines bright over the highest point in all of the downside. Look at that. He's pretty. So now, you see it for yourself. You are summoned to the north, where looms Mount Lodial, and at the very top, the Fall of Solium. Sacred mountain on whose summit the rites were first conceived. Whether its summit is a downside's closest point to the Commonwealth, or the furthest, none can say. The temple at the highest point in the downside exists to honor the 8 scribes. You confirm the stars indicated this exactly. Alfred, sir. How did you know?
Wilfred smiles back at him, but you sense his thoughts, as though he's directing them at you.
I too can read, my boy.
Fuck, that's so good.
That is so good. I think this is like the only time they actually speak. And like he's directing it into your head, straight up speaking normal language. It's so good.
Forbidden though the words may be.
He turns back to Hedwyn. Your reader skills, while rare, are not unique. But, as I said, I'll let him do the job. I see that you have something special going here, which benefits the plan. What plan? Thought this was about our freedom. Oh, fear not, my boy. It is indeed. Plenty of time to tell you about it on the way. But now, however, you look like you can use some rest. For that matter, so can I. If you'll excuse me. You sense your companions are exhausted from their recent travels. Given the road ahead, you agree it would be best to take the night to recover as much as possible.
Okay. So, this is where I'm gonna call it for tonight. Current limit 305. But yeah. I think this is going to be a good place to call it, because next we're going to reach the summit, and not to spoil anything, but there's we're going to have much more on the way and after. So, yeah. Let me quit. Oh. Thanks for stream. Thank you guys for coming. I hope the voices I've done weren't like straight up terrible. I hope they were enjoyable for you guys. The emote never went through. That's fine. Figure out how to do that later. Or whatever. I don't know when the next time I'm gonna stream is. Thanks for streaming, you nerd. You love my voices? Oh, thank you. That really does mean a lot. If you guys are enjoying it and think the voices are fine, I'm really happy. Also, hey Wander, lurking the entire time. Shit. I accidentally hit the fucking add button. Fuck me. Rudy Beam Pro voice actor win. I would like to. I was trying to hit the raid channel. I guess we'll raid Shark. I'll wait till the thing is done. The ad. I'll wait till that is done. But fuck, what was I gonna say? Yeah, I'm not sure when the next time I'm gonna stream is. I don't think I'm gonna do Wednesday. I might do Wednesday, but I'm not sure. I know Saturday for sure. I'm going to either do a very short stream kind of earlier in the day, or just have no stream at all. Because Saturday full disclosure, I have been watching Arcadum's D&D thing for like about a year now. And this Saturday is the culmination of all of that D&D and work, and he's going to have like an 8-hour long session against like the enemy of the world, and I want to be there for like the entire thing. So full disclosure, Saturday there might not be a stream because of that, or a very early stream back in the like early in the day. But I might do a stream on Wednesday and Thursday. I want to do Quietus, but I need to see if the people if players are available. Those are the only two things. If they're not, then we'll do something else on Thursday. We won't be playing Pyre on Thursday, but Wednesday for sure. Okay. Sounds fun? Absolutely. It is going to be a time. Okay. Tiny Pocket Shark is playing Simulacra 2. So we're gonna raid her. I'll see you guys Wednesday. Love you much. I'm gonna go get some dinner. Bye.